Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Still waiting for parts on the transmission. So I've been working on changing out the rear springs now. These are exactly the same as what's on my f350. My f350 does not have overloads. I would call these technically f250 springs, and the top are Excursion ones minus. They would normally have a like a leaf coming off, supposedly for, well, about like this, but only towards one way. Something to do with traction or something. My springs are so sagged out that was just bent anyways. And the part number on these at trucksprings.com I believe is the same number there, 43-1261 ME. I'm gonna put that on. I already got one on, and this time I believe I did the hard side first, because if you don't take off the spring hanger, which I would have had to torch it all up, I couldn't get the bolt out. The nut is on the outside, on the top part of the hanger normally. There's a little groove for the bolt to go in there. It just barely fits. You gotta wrestle the spring around every which way and just barely get in there. So this one I just turned it around, got it good and tight. And then on the front here, another thing you got to deal with if you have rear heat and rear air is this spring bolt has to go through here somehow. So I just kind of bent these around a little bit and then wrestled the spring to get the bolt to fit between them. Otherwise, it wasn't too bad. I gained 2 inches of lift by putting these springs on, and that 2 inches is taking 1 inch of lift block out. So, right where I want it to be to look good at the front. So we'll get started here on taking this leaf spring out. I didn't know how to do it, so I made some extensions for my jacks. There isn't really much room to get in here with anything. So about the only thing a guy can use is a bigger ratchet with the right size socket on it, which I have right here. And surprisingly, these weren't too bad for me. This is a captured nut. You want to make sure it goes up. So if you have it down, it'll hit the leaf spring. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take my impact. I'm going to loosen the U-bolts. This goes a lot easier if you have the vehicle supported by the frame, because the Excursions have this like shroud deal here, so you don't see all the ugliness underneath, you know, like a pickup would have. I pre-loosened these while I was working on the other side. I pre-loosened a lot of stuff on here. Now that we got the nuts all off the U-bolts, we can get them loose. And these bolts back here, I needed to use the fire wrench on, so now I can drive this bolt out. I believe there's enough room behind for it to go above the fuel tank. So I'm gonna have to get some of the pressure off the leaf spring. So I'll get these lift blocks out. Oh, there's something back there. It almost seems like it might be worse than the other side. Well, I get the front side of the spring off, and then I might be able to tip it enough to get that bolt out. That's what I had to do on the other side. There goes that. Now maybe I can tip the spring enough sideways to get that bolt out. This side is being a little bit more stubborn than the other side. So there's just enough room, if you're lucky. Ah, hook fell off my trouble light. It's just enough room, if you're lucky, that you can tweak this leaf spring sideways and get the bolt over the frame rail. I had to notch that lower, or that second leaf just a little bit to get it to move enough, and now that bolt is just about out. So while wiggling on it, and go with my hand, I might have to hit on it a little bit here. There it is. There's the bolt. So now, when I put the new spring on, I cut the end of this bolt off a little bit, which I did with the torch to try to help get it out of this side. I put the bolt in this way. It should work just fine. I don't see why it wouldn't. Well, now we can get the spring out the rest of the way. Try not to wreck your parking brake cables and whatnot. It'll be fun wrestling the new one in there. Those things are pretty heavy. Got it up on top of the hoist. It isn't that easy fishing it back through here though. This one actually is going pretty good. I think is what I'm gonna do. I got the alignment pin started. I'm gonna let this jack down a little bit so I can line that up. I've got that bolt in. Now we can start this. So this goes up in this way, so it doesn't interfere with the spring. Now we just gotta get the rear lined up here, and we can do that by turning on this bolt, because on mine it's seized to the shackle. You'll turn that right forward. That should be pretty close. So I've taken my original bolt, I shortened just a little bit on it. That's all back in place now. Since we got all the bolts in, we can go and put our factory lift block back in. And I'm gonna have to put a little bit of up pressure with the porta power because I never took the shocks off. If you take the shocks off, you should be able to lift the vehicle up high enough. Now that you got your blocks all situated, you just want to make sure that you got the pin in the hole all the way through. Make sure it's all lined up good, because if you don't have that lined up, your vehicle's going to dog track and possibly your axle's going to come off. Once you're sure everything's right, go and put your top plate back on your spring. That lines up over the alignment stud on the leaf spring. And you go and shove your U-bolts up in there. And is what I like to do is you can see how this is spread way apart. I like to take my wood clamps and clamp them together, so when you draw them tight on top, they're straight down here. Just like that. Get these all started good. And you can come in here at the impact and run them down until they don't go anymore. First, get them all started evenly. Make sure these are good and tight. You'll want to come back and check these in a few miles. Make sure they're good and tight yet. Make sure you tighten all your bolts up. Recheck them after a few miles and whatnot. And these are, I think they said these are a dual rate spring. So you'll have real soft ride in the first 4 leaves here. And then I'll get onto this thick leaf, and then I'll get a lot stiffer ride for when you're pulling a trailer. I'll have to see how these springs work out. Hopefully I'm happy with them. They were far cheaper than stock replacement Excursion springs. So even if I don't like these and I go to a little bit heavier duty f250, f350 spring, yeah, I'm out a little bit, but it's not terrible. I think these were $100 some a piece, and Excursion ones listed for like $400 some a piece. So you can almost buy 3-4 sets of different springs like this to try compared to one set of Excursion springs. Well, once I get some more parts for this thing, I'll bring a video back on it. I'd appreciate it if you guys hit the subscribe button and like this video. I appreciate all the recent subscriptions I've been getting and all the views. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless and take care.